All right. So, hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast with no name. And this is our little small section called All Right, a Real Discussion. And today we're going to take a little digression from the usual. Usually Ebony picks the books. And so it's usually self-help, very educational, very informative. And I just picked some straight trash. So I wanted her to read this book that I wanted to read again as an adult. The funny thing is that I never got around to reading it, but Ebony read it. She got through it, and she got a lot of thoughts about it. So I'm going to listen to that while I try to remember what it is. So the book we're discussing today is The Picture of Dorian Gray. So let's introduce ourselves again. I'm Paris.
I'm Ebony.
And welcome back, you guys. All right. Go ahead on your spill, Ebony.
Okay, well, I decided this. I'm pretty sure people know how this book goes and it ends. I'm probably just the first person in the world just reading it. But there's no need to go through that. It was just a couple of little notes that I thought were maybe worthy of a discussion. So I do want to start off,
I have my book.
Okay. I do want to start off saying that I do not believe that this book is for teenagers. Teenagers should not be reading this book. I do not understand why you would give this book to people in high school. I do think that it's deep, but I don't think that they are mature enough to understand it, and they may misinterpret a lot of the message you intended to give, while also implanting other ideas. And so I just think it's very irresponsible, and somewhat reinforces the status quo too. So with that being said, the status quo.
What happened?
What you mean? P. Okay. Don't know what. Oh,
okay, we're back. I don't know what that was.
No, what you were saying?
You said reinforces the status what?
Status quo.
Okay.
So,
so do you want to give us a very brief summary of the story?
Really, it's a story of narcissism, I guess. That's the best way to put it, I guess. The character Dorian Gray, he grew up with affluence, and he just did not have the bone to self-reflect in his body. It was just not in him. From the moment he's introduced to the end of the book, he just can't do it. Yeah, so that's what it's about, the destruction of a person who refuses to self-reflect and become a narcissist and deluded.
And the main thing about the story is that in the beginning we meet him, and he's very young, and he's a very handsome man, and he's being painted by a very famous artist, and the painting comes out beautifully. But a friend who is very cynical happens to be there at the same time and meets Dorian for the first time, and he kind of tells him oh, go ahead and enjoy your youth and your beauty, because it fades. And finally, seeing the picture and realizing that that's where the kind of the narcissism happens, of him wishing that oh, he could stay young and beautiful forever. Instead of him aging, the picture would. And that's literally what happens. And then I think from the rest, we kind of go on to his life there, of him never losing his youth or beauty, but also he's a person of society. He has a lot of money. He goes on to make more money. And so now not only are you kind of granted this like immortality, so to say, not exactly, but also this wealth, and how maybe with that it completely distorts this person's morality.
From
Or
birth.
from what?
Way, from birth, way before, you know, way before the character is ever introduced. So, yeah. So the cynical, I think he practiced nihilism, but and probably a little bit more than that. He is very pessimistic as well. But the character says some very interesting things that I think that it will be worth discussing.
Okay.
So I know people know this story, so I ain't even gonna go into that. But they're having a conversation, and he says, I can't help, he says, I can't help detesting my relations. I suppose it comes from the fact that none of us can stand other people having the same faults as ourselves. So I wonder, what do you think about that? That we can't stand other people having the same faults as ourselves.
Say that one more time, the quote.
It says, I suppose it comes from the fact that none of us can stand other people having the same faults as ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I
Hmm.
think like we read plenty of books that absolutely discuss like most of the time when you're criticizing other people, you're usually criticizing yourself of the faults that you don't like that you have. And so when you see them in someone else, you're very critical, like even to the point of being like very harsh to that person. Um, because it's something we don't like about ourselves. So, but what in that part, where was that the beginning or like towards
Oh,
the
it's on page 18, so yes, it's still in the
end?
beginning. And I just thought it was interesting because it's like what I do know about doing the work is the more you start to like and love yourself and enjoy yourself, the more you don't look or see fault or imperfections or weaknesses in other people, especially not like, oh, look, I can exploit it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we talk about it like I had, you know, for example, I gave you the story of like the gap in my teeth. I never noticed I had a gap in my teeth. Somebody told me, and I was like, oh, what? Because it was still not my idea of what I think a gap is. So even when he told me, I was just like, oh, okay. I looked in the mirror. I was just like, oh, but I still like it. I'm so cute. You know what I'm saying? And it didn't affect me. I also have an aunt, that has or a
Mm-hmm.
family member, I should say, that have a disability. I never noticed that until other people told me, like, oh, you don't visibly see the disability. I'm like, no, I even dated someone, that had a disability. Well, not a disability, but it was visually, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and like, I guess it was obvious to other people. And not until people said it to me that I was like, oh, that does exist. And it's not and for me, I always ask myself, like, why, could I overlook that? It's because I'm so comfortable in myself and accepting myself and embracing myself. And I kind of integrated my light and shadow side that when I'm looking at another person, I'm not seeing like their imperfections or any of that. I see more of their character and, first more than anything, their character and their integrity. So everything else is kind of secondary, and that's if I ever see it. Kind of
Mm.
weird.
I can understand that. Like, I think to like for me, like I initially notice it, but it doesn't usually become something that's like a focal point for me. So I'm like, it's not that I don't notice, I notice and I go, oh, and then after a while, it's just not noticeable anymore. So until somebody says it again, I'd be like, oh yeah, like when you were just saying like you have a gap, and I had to look at you and I was like, oh yeah, I've known you all most of my life. And the people will be like, if someone else was like, Emmy has a gap, I'm like, no, she don't.
Right.
Until I see you, and I'll be like, oh yeah, she do got a little. Like, it's just not.
Right.
You just kind of like move on, and it kind of doesn't become a thing. But the interesting thing that like I recommended this book was it was interesting of like, and I think maybe part of like why am I happening in like high school is like how impressionable young people can be when around someone they find like different or unique or admirable, especially like someone who's like different and doing something different than what they've seen before. And they're like, man, like this person is cool. And so how impressionable they can be to the suggestions of that person. Because mind you, he was just kind of like a regular cute little boy, like, oh yeah, everybody thinks I'm cute. Until Lord Henry put these ideas in his head. And he was just like, oh. And so to me, I feel like not ideas, but I feel like when someone speaks your intrusive thoughts, but they speak them in a way that they don't feel like intrusive anymore. They feel like they kind of they speak it in like a favorable way that gives you like the avenue to explore that more of like, oh, it's not bad, you know, if I did it, or like, oh, it's not wrong. Like other people think this is not wrong. Someone has spoken in favor of something that I've thought about before. And so it's basically a confirmation bias. And so you're like, yeah, like, okay, well, cool. Like, let's explore that to the point that he gave him a book that gave him more information or confirmation bias, which in like like in my opinion, like completely just like set him loose and free, and he completely integrated this new lifestyle or this new paradigm or this new mindset into his life of like, I'm embracing everything beautiful, everything I want to do, all my impulses, all the things that I love. Let's do it. Let's explore. Let's do that. Like life is short. You can only be like this young and beautiful for a certain amount of time. Like, so do what you want. Have the fun that you want. Like, you know, dang the consequences. Like, ask for forgiveness and not permission. You know, just like go out there and be who you are and try what you want, and whatever happens, happens. It's okay. But it's kind of to the point of like, you especially get some grace if you're handsome, if you're a man, and if you're rich, if you're white. You're white. You're definitely white. So
Okay. Going to the next topic because I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm trying to play nice in this video. Okay.
okay.
So the next one is, it says, it is only the intellectually lost who ever argue. And this made me think of this video I saw, or it was a meme or a comic. I can't remember. But it was two people standing on the shore, and it was like some rocks going along the thing, and the person was pointing to the first one. He was like, gator. And the other person was like, rock. And he was like, gator. He was like, rock. He was like, that is a gator. And he was like, rock. So the person got so frustrated trying to prove his point that it jumps onto the rock and was like, jumps on to prove it. And then the gator snaps at it and takes it under. And the person goes, gator. Away. And I think like at the end, another person walks up and they like, rock. And then he just walks away like, I ain't about to argue with you, you know? And that's what it made me think of. It's like, I'm at the point where it's like, I am not about to argue. Who we argue for?
I can't argue with you. You mad. Look at you. I agree. And the moral of that is like, don't argue with idiots because people can't tell the difference. And I agree. Also, it's about like, to the point too of like, why waste your time? It's different if you truly want to educate a person, you know, But if you're not trying to educate the person, if you're just arguing just to prove that you're right, it's a waste of time.
Right.
Especially if that person's doing the same thing. Neither one of you are coming into this conversation to learn or educate yourself. You're not in a growth mindset.
Right.
And so people are very defensive, and it's just, one, you're wasting your time, and also two, like, you're expelling an energy that you like don't want to add to yourself. You can't get that back. It's like, pick and choose your battles, and that's just it is. It's like when you're smart, especially educating something, it's easy to pick and choose your battles. It's like, I don't know if this is a proper example, but especially like today in the world of Google, I feel like you don't need to argue. I feel like you can, like, something and a person says no, it's easy to pull out your phone that has access to everything in the world and just say, hey, like, this is what it is. And again, I feel like that's like pulling away from the argument of saying, like, hey, going back and forth or something. But also there's been instances of like someone said something, I'm like, that's not it. And they go, yes, it is. Go, oh, okay. But anyway, the example yesterday was my child was playing a game and she got scared by a crocodile in the game. And she goes, woo. She goes, well, in the game, she calls the tree. She goes, at least crocodiles can't climb trees. And I said, yes, they can. And her dad said, no, they can't. And I said, pulled it up, read the facts to him. And he was just like, oh, I didn't know that. You learn something new every day. But again, it's just like I knew the fact, but it's just to the point too, like, when you're smart and you're intelligent, even if it's smart enough to use your resources, you don't need to argue. You can just pull up the information and go, hey, this is what I learned. Oh, hey, I was wrong. You were right. It's like that. But also at the same time, it's like when you're educated on the subject and you see a person who's just wrong and they're strong and wrong, you also get the notion of like, not worth it.
Right. Right. Okay. I can't see how many minutes because we wanted to keep this short.
Right.
Okay. All right. Huh?
I said, I don't know either.
Okay. Another one, it says, let me just read the paragraph. It says, perhaps you would tire sooner than he will. So this is them talking about Dorian. He said, perhaps you would tire sooner than he will. It is a sad thing to think of, but there is no doubt that genius lasts longer than beauty. That accounts for the fact that we all take such pains to overeducate ourselves. In the wild struggle for existence, we want to have something that endures. And so we fill our minds with rubbish and facts in the silly hopes of keeping our place. The thoroughly well-informed man, that is the modern idea. And the mind of the thoroughly well-informed man is a dreadful thing. It is like a bric-a-brac shop, all monsters and dust, with everything priced above its proper value.
Mm. Ooh.
So
okay.
this
Drag us. Okay, cool.
right, because at the end of the day, this is how I feel. It's like they keep saying knowledge is power, knowledge is power. I know so many, like, think about how many people graduate from high school. Just think about like, I can't think of who it was. They was like, they did a study and the strangest secret, or the strangest thing, or strangest secret, Earl Nightingale. He was talking about you could survey 100 men, all of them say they want to be successful, but only 10 gonna make somewhat of a success, only 2 are gonna be like independently rich. And he's saying like, why? Like, why? Like, what is the drastic difference? All of these people had the knowledge, right? You can, just like you did, you just pulled out your phone, you access the knowledge and was able to tell us, what you think about it. But I think that, that is what is happening. We are all just like collecting a whole bunch of information, or not collecting it because we can get it to our, right from our fingertips so quickly. But we forgot, we don't even think about the second step, because I can't say forgot, because I don't even know if people, ever remember, but there is a second step. You can have a whole bunch of knowledge, but what does it do? And it's not just about the beauty part. It's like knowledge has to come with application or practicality. What is the point of having a whole bunch of useless information that you can't use, can't help you grow and develop, can't stretch you, can't improve the quality of your life, can't make you financially independent, can't make you spiritually grounded, can't improve your happiness, your health, your well-being. It can't do any of that. So what is the point of it? And people are not thinking like, okay, I only have but so much brain space. I only have but so much time in the day. What am I going to use my time to learn? And how can I use what I learned to apply to my life to improve it overall?
True. I mean, like, how many times have we talked to people or something who has a lot of advice that they don't take themselves? So, absolutely. I think, like, I agree with you. It's like, what's the point of reading all these self-help books, these how to grow rich, this whatever, and you go, man, that's dope, that's cool, whatever, and then you continue to go to work and you don't have the big idea, you don't have the paradigm shift, you don't have the aha moment, you don't have the new spark to do something different. So absolutely, it's like, why are you reading all these books and acquiring this knowledge and not applying it? It's like, exactly, it's like, and I like, part of it is like, I get it, and I feel like part of it also too is like, especially like as millennials and younger, it's the lie you've been told about college. You got to go to college and get a degree to get a good paying job. And all of us did that. And nobody works in their field. Nobody uses their degree. Very few people have a very well paying job. And like, in certain places, the market is just saturated with lots of people with degrees. So now this thing that's supposed to make you stand out and different isn't. And so back then in the 90s, they're looking for the person with a degree, whatever. And now they learn like, oh, well, the degrees don't mean anything. We need the person with experience. Experience matters more than degrees, because degree is just theory and not experience. So now they're looking for you to have a degree and years of experience. And you go, in the 4 years I was in school from 17 to 21, where is that experience supposed to come? Like, if you're really lucky, you get an intern or whatever. But like, you're in a full course load, like, that's a lot. And so now you have a lot of people who have acquired all of this knowledge that they paid. It's very overpriced for that. They're like, what do I do with? I'm like, how many accounting majors do not work in accounting?
Right.
Nothing in finance, nothing close. I knew one accounting major who went on to like direct the YMCA. Okay.
Okay, I think I have about 5 more. So
Okay.
let's see. All right. Those who are faithful know only the trivial side of love. It is the faithless who know love's tragedy. Those who are faithful know only the trivial side of love. Let's start there. Is this supporting men's idea that this is why they can go out there and be with other women and not love them, and then love you but not love them? It's just sex with them, it's love with you. It's like, if you're faithful, you just know the happy side of love. But once you and I believe that
I'm laughing at my back.
I believe that the word
I don't know. It's interesting. Okay, this is a complete digression. And I don't watch TV, but I saw a clip online. And Ray J is getting divorced from his wife, and they were talking. And he was very upset because she was like, "Oh, you had bunch of women in the house, and they were wearing my clothes or whatever." And he's like, "Whatever. If I do whatever, if I get, head from the random chick behind the store, I don't even know her name." He's like, "You talking to two?" He's like, "2, 3 ninjas right now." And she was like, "1." He's like, "That's what I'm talking about. You're a cheater." He's like, "I don't know them. I don't know their name. But you see, you like this guy, whatever. You're a cheater."
So that's what I'm saying, is that stance supporting the argument?
No,
Because then the
not
next one says it is the faithless who know love's tragedy. So
why the
like, is
no.
is it because you got your heart broken and now you like, yeah, okay. Because we all know like adult love and young love is not the same, right or wrong?
I think it's as passionate, but it's not the same.
You think it young, you like your first love, like when you was first in love versus like the person that you decide to spend the rest of your life with, it's the same?
It's not the same. But I was saying the beginning passion is the same. You can feel the same passion for your first love the way you will feel like the person eventually you will marry. But again, it's like the deciding to marry someone and commit the rest of your life. It's again, it's like that deciding to be faithful is very trivial.
You you are going to make this video long with this.
I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm not. I'm just saying. I was like, I made a simple statement.
All right.
As far as expanding on
So
that, I had to be
because
like another conversation. But
because all right, listen. All right, let me put it this way. This is what's gonna make the video long.
oh, watch. Yeah.
I think it is a reason that older men like to marry younger women because they are less experienced, which means that they will put up with more. They're still like bubbly-eyed fairy tale, right? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
my Prince Charming, they haven't been through enough to know like what real love is outside of like it's trivial side, or it's like it's surface level, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's after you go through so much experience where you go, well, I won't do that again. I won't do this again. I won't say that again. I won't go for this again. And then
But I mean, when it comes to the
the
argument
next
of
person you pick, hopefully if you growing, the next person you pick will come with more experience and more wisdom, which again, you're not so like, ha ha ha, I'm so like, oh, I'm in love, I'm floating in the air. You're like, it has to be a little of both. So I guess I'm not understanding when you're saying the passion is the same for like the young innocent when you just learning something new as opposed to like being experienced, because those are two different levels. How can they feel the same? Even initially, how can they feel the same?
I would say the beginning, like infatuation and the butterflies and the getting to know each other phase and wanting to know more about each other, being completely curious about the person or whatever, and feeling that initial attraction. I mean, there are studies and stuff about that have shown like young love, whatever, when it comes to like the passion or the love felt, it is equivalent to the one you feel as older. It's just, it's in the place you are. You love in the place that you are. So you could just feel as passionate as you would understanding love the way you do at 16, and you'll feel a different passion understanding love the way you will at 30. But they're both very passionate. But the relationship is different because you've grown and you've had more experience, and you understand, like you said, more of what you want or whatever. So in order to feel that passion for someone else, now with more experience, you have this certain criteria, but the type of passion you would feel is the same way you felt when you were 16. You know what I'm saying?
That's the part I don't agree with. Y'all
Okay.
share and y'all put in the chat if you agree that you feel the same way as you felt as young love. Maybe like I can say that there are some moments where maybe like once in a while you can feel it, but think about consistently when you were first in love, how you were smiling, you were giddy, you and your friends would laugh about it, you would write your name in the notebook next to them, you draw hearts, like all of that stuff. You don't do that. It don't even feel the same anymore because now you have those thoughts in your head. As soon as you go, oh, it's gonna be able like, yeah, okay, now go and feed the kids and go and do this and like it just
But
so
that's
like
different.
just
We're
tell us
talking about
down in the chat if the passion is still the same. Like I
but
agree that they're
we
both
talk
still
about this all
passionate. I
we talk
believe
about
they
this all the
both still
time.
passionate, but I
We're
don't
not
believe
talking
they
about
similar.
we're not talking about love. We're talking about being in love. And we know that being in
Right.
love is fleeting. So the things you're saying, like, oh, the kids, whatever, that's loving someone. That's not being in love. We know that when you're married, being in love has long past that. You still love the person and you can have moments of being in love, but people have this idea that like being in love is a consistent thing. No, it's a fleeting emotion, just like
No, I don't
happiness
mean
and
it like
joy.
that. That's the misunderstanding. I
Well,
mean it
that's what
like
I
when
mean.
you
That's what I mean it as.
no, 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 but that's what I mean. Like when you're young, you don't have a lot of responsibilities. You can just think about being in love. That's it, right? You don't,
Mm-hmm.
it's not really any other responsibilities around that. And that moment, all you have is school, your homework, and that person, right? You may have some friends, like that is your life, right? As you
Mm-hmm.
get older and you start to add more things on, your attention has to be split between two. So that in love feeling fades or not really fades, it's just not as intense because your love or your attention or what you're giving your emotions to have to be split in multiple ways. So it's like kids or marriage or I mean kids or bills or work. That's just an example, but you can't be consumed with being in love all day. Reality hits you when you young. It is your reality, and that's the difference. Like it doesn't feel the same to me. Now I agree they both still strong and passionate. I'm not saying that, but it's like even older people go, it's nothing like that young love. Like it's nothing like it. And I agree, like when you stupid as hell, like that's what young love is. Like you stupid and you like, we're gonna have 7 kids and we're gonna be married 34 years. Like you
That's
have
funny.
all of these ideas and then you really get into it and you go, oh, that's not really what love is, type of
But
thing.
that's
You know
but
what I'm
that's why I
saying?
said like they're both passionate, but it's different. So it's just as passionate, like you were saying. It can be passionate, but it's different. And I agree with you. Like different things arise and go on in life, and it changes how you approach love next time. So I look for some chapstick.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to the next one before we
No, I
go.
think we should just go ahead and go. That I
Okay, so
mean,
we're
we've
gonna
been
leave it here. We might have to pick up another time. We didn't want
no,
this too long
no, we
winded.
will
Oh no,
not. We
well
will
she's opening
not.
this book.
Those were 4 interesting topics. I had like 4 more. We'll only do another video if
Well,
you request it. How about that? I'll keep my
I had
little
some things that
notes.
I wanted to like ask about, but that I remembered. But I'll think about that more, and if I need to go make another video. But for now, we'll just go ahead and end it here. This was just a quick discussion on Dorian
I
Gray.
don't
Just
think it was quick.
I read it a long time ago. I admit I didn't read it again, but I asked Ebony to read it. And she just had some interesting things that she pointed out. Overall, give your review of the book.
Yes. And share with us what you think about young love versus
I was asking you
experience
to
love.
overall give your review of the book. I was asking you to give your overall review of the book. You
Oh,
didn't do
me. Okay.
that. Mm-hmm.
Overall, I think it had I really don't think the people who would benefit and need to benefit from a book like this would read it and identify and be like, oh, I need to change my ways. So, if anything, it's more entertainment and it's adult entertainment. It had a lot of sexual tension just under the just fizzling under the and I'm like, no. You don't see what I see. You just don't belong. Yeah, so I had to struggle through. I had to listen to it sometimes and read it and listen. I just kept going back and forth. It is not my type of read.
Give me a double
Interesting
chin. You be poking
story.
out.
Huh?
I said my thing is tight and it's giving me a double chin, and this keep coming loose and it just exposing it.
No, girl.
Anyway,
Yeah.
digress. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a yeah, it's here. It's there and it's never going away. Okay, your
Okay.
turn.
Okay. I don't remember. I remember enjoying the book in high school, and I just thought it was really interesting. Some of the really cynical, nihilistic things that Lord Henry said, and how it just like impacted this other person. And they were like, yeah, 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 let's do that. And then the whole like trajectory of like his life and what happened changed, and just what a morally corrupt person he became when he decided that this was the lifestyle he wanted. And what also like the tale of society of that time of like what you're willing to sell of yourself to keep what you deem valuable, like your beauty, because of the currency it holds in the world, to be honest. So that's part
We
of
should
like
have a pretty privileged tackle topic video.
we can
But
do
yeah.
that.
Okay. All
But
right.
anyway, we're gonna wrap this up for Dorian Gray.
We have
I
so many
know this
more
was like a
videos.
very interesting thing. It wasn't really like a book review. It wasn't really like a thing. We just wanted to discuss it. Emmy had some hot takes on it. She didn't really get into it too much here. But overall, like when I talked to her, she was like, "This book is trash." So I just wanted to talk about it together and with you guys. So leave your comments below. I know we had a real kind of like discussion about young love and mature love. Please leave your comments below about that and your opinions about that too. And anyway, this was a podcast with no name. This was all right, a real discussion on Dorian Gray. I'm Paris.
I'm Ebony.
All right, until next time, guys.
See you in the next video.